so glad that you cast, because I just want nothing but success for you, and I support everything that you're doing.
Thank
and there's such a history to, like, with the shirt that he has, like even during like a very pivotal moment, takes some time to roll up the sleeves and just be presentable even when he's alone.
Yes, he's a very particular character, and I love detail. You know, I mean, it's like Nightmare on Elm Street is one that taught me that, like, you better know everything that's on that set, because there's going to be some person who's going to, like, read it. You know, like,
read into it.
Yeah, and also the Easter egg aspect of, like, everybody's an artist now, like from the costume designer to the, like, they want to slip in their little signature.
Yeah.
And I have become much more controlling in my own mind about what I want around me. Of course, they've got their own. I mean, like him, he's got, his eyes are amazing. Like, he's very still when he's directing. But now that I know him in the way that I know him, the mind is just, he really knows how to set up a picture, that's for sure. I think this movie was so beautiful, you know, really was so beautiful.
Yeah, I agree. Can you talk about creating a complexity for Rich, because he's not a mustache twirling villain or anything. Like, there's a moment where he says, "I'm not a bad person," and I was like, I felt something in that moment.
Yeah.
So,
that's all, you know, Mark bringing that to the performance, because on the page he reads as, I mean, yes, there's a line, you know, "I'm not a bad person." I mean, I tried to write him as someone who wasn't a one-note villain, but knowing as I was writing that I was writing it for Mark, and knowing that he would be able to bring that emotional depth and, like, the fragility and the vulnerability was going to be there, even if he was saying these lines that were, you know, maybe sort of traditionally one note or villainous, villainish. I don't know.
Villain.
Yeah, villainous. That's it. Yeah. And so, like, it was hard to not, because as I was writing, it was like he was the villain, and he's a villain, or he's a version of a villain that I think a lot of gay guys have encountered, you know, in one form or another. And, you know, it's you run into Riches pretty regularly.
Yes, you do, and they're scary. A lot of them are really scary, just because they wear their, like, self-hate in a way that is, they do project their shit onto you, and it's like, and it's something that you would think inside of your mind that you may be that way, and it's everything that you don't want to be. But then I also like the fact that nobody thinks they're the villain, you know?
Yeah. Well, that was the thing about with Rich too. It's like, he's, you know, he has a business, and doesn't see himself. Has done bad things, but he doesn't see himself as a bad person. He believes that he's not a bad person, and even if, as an audience, we're not fully on board with that assessment of his character, but, like, you know, he believes it.
Well, yeah, and he believes that he's still beautiful too.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, that's he's delusional, you know. But the thing is, it's like, that's the trick to any character like that, is to get in touch with humanity, because nobody thinks they're that guy.
Yeah.
There's always somebody worse than them.
Yeah.
I do want to shine the light on your performance, and it's really, really exceptional.
Yeah, really.
His debut performance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Please keep going. But I'm curious, because I still haven't quite untangled the knots in my stomach. I haven't watched this, and so I can only imagine what the experience was like for you. Was your head just, like, really hot with, like, trying to, because you're having to emote so many different things, and so there's so much information to gather from, even the way that he shoots it with, like, this blurred kind of effect, and the way that you guide up and down the body and everything, that there's just so much to take from. So
Yeah, well, like, I obviously never had a hand up my ass, but
Not so obvious. I mean, that's maybe obvious to you. Not obvious, you know.
no, there's sort of like a concept, and most of the process is like experiment. Carter really gave me, like, the freedom to make sure, like, my choices were relevant. You know what I mean? Everything that I've done, Carter let me, like, he gave me enough space to make those decisions, and I felt like if this is, like, real pain, you know what I mean? If someone's hand in my ass, this has got to be, like, yeah, it made me squirm when I watched it. You know what I mean? I didn't feel like that when I was making it, but when I watched it, I was like, oh my god, it makes me uncomfortable. And I'm very happy that you think that you believed it.
Yes.
I'm very, very happy that you believed it. But that's thanks to Carter for creating that space for me, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, we had something that was really special. Like, by the time we got to that scene, you know, we shot pretty much in order the whole film, and so Cooper, who played Benjamin, and Jose, like we shot the whole beginning of the film, and so there really was this relationship and this intimacy that they had as best friends, like in this situation together, and like as much as the pain and the discomfort and the you know kind of uncomfortableness is a part of that, like it's also incredibly intimate, and you know it's happening between these two best friends, so there's layers there that like are, you know, 100% performance based, and that are not on the page necessarily.
Yeah, and even some of those poetic touches with there's a scene that involves a washcloth, but there's a second one too, and it kind of brings things full circle, but they both have different feelings, and so I'm curious about those poetic touches.
My history is in photography and fashion photography and like making things beautiful.
So visual.
Visual, yeah, and the way that we approached the DP who shot this is a guy that shoots a lot of documentaries, and so he is very much used to following what is happening as it unfolds. And like we would do scenes in, you know, 5-page scenes in one take, 6-page, you know, just the whole thing, with the freedom to let the actors do whatever they wanted to do within the space and be reactionary towards it. So a lot of it wasn't necessarily all of this forethought. It was more creating the space, putting the characters in the space, in this light, and then sort of allowing the camera and the eye to sort of follow what unfolded. And then of course, like, you know, picking those poetic moments in the edit and becoming really attached to like very specific acts of tenderness or kindness or horror or, you know, or whatever.
It's so funny because all the people had different acting styles. I mean, there couldn't be more different than like Cooper's very university, he's young, but it's all trained, he's trained. And he believes in the training. And then there's Jenna, who's like, you know, she eats film sets for dinner. You know? And then there's me, and then like I come into this thing from a very particular point of view, and I think we worked really well. This ensemble worked really, really well together. So I was so pleased with him seeing him last night. I was just like amazed at the relationship between him and Cooper. I mean, really, just it really did. It wouldn't have worked if it hadn't. And I was like a little afraid. I was like, I don't know what they're doing, you know. And then when it's there, it's very beautiful to look at. So, and I recognize that relationship in gay guys and straight guys. Everybody always has their straight boyfriend who's like, they always say the same thing. I would, you know, if I was going to sleep with any guy, I'd be you. You know, it's like, okay, well.
Well, just that love that they have
is
very universal.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, and it's interesting because, you know, after one screening, a guy came up to me, and it was after the screening, and I could see like his girlfriend was there with him, and she was kind of like, go. And he came up afterwards, and he was like, I'm straight. You know, but I just want to let you know that this is the first time that I've seen a movie with gay characters that I could relate to them and see myself in them in a way that like didn't make me feel like I wasn't straight.
Right.
Like it was super interesting to
Awesome.
You know, I'm so happy that his girlfriend made him come up and say that, because it was like the best compliment that he could see himself in that relationship. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think many of us have been in that relationship where it's just like the adolescent friendship, love. There's nothing more powerful than that. Like the first person that you love, and you're, you know, all of it. It's universal. You think it happens only to you, but it happens
to everybody. Yeah.
Was there a particular scene or moment that you wanted to actualize? Like as soon as you read it, that's the moment, that's the heartbeat, or whatever it may be.
Well, I mean, writing it was all structured around the scene when Benjamin has to get the first one out.
Yeah. Like
as the centerpiece, like building up to that, and then the aftermath of that. So that was kind of like for me, like this most horrific, most intimate, most unsettling, scary sequence. I mean, it's a 15-page sequence, so it's it's not that small. But I knew that was kind of it happens almost exactly the middle of the movie, so it was sort of the aftermath and the lead up. And then if we could get that right, that everything else would be, hopefully, you'd buy into it. And I mean, that's also part of why we shot in the aspect ratio that we did, because I knew in that sequence that I wanted to be really close on faces and have them fill the frame.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's so much more horrific to watch Jenna's face watching what's happening, than it is to I knew that there was never going to be close-ups of hands going, the super graphic aspect of it. I knew that wasn't going to be happening on screen. That it was going to be hopefully more effective to see close on Dom's face or on Cooper's face or on Jenna's face or Rich's. The reactions to the horror was the more interesting aspect. Yeah.
Well, when you get down to that most private aspect of people, we all have our issues around all these things that you were dealing with there, and it's scary. It's will your friendship survive?
Yeah.
The fist up the ass.
Yeah.
And it's true.
Yeah.
The pain of what was happening to him. It would be excruciating. I mean, you weren't being loved up there. You were just especially when Rich comes in, to just I think the way you set that up was really good too. With you let the redneck have the grossness, the farts and all that kind of stuff, and that sets you up for where you're gonna go. But we don't have to do any with the people that we love, all that.
Yeah.
Because you could get in a lot of ugliness if the wrong person did this movie.
I love what you said about Jenna's reactions, because she doesn't really, because she's the bridge between the two parties.
Yeah.
And so just kind of seeing her try to put on this face of this is an everyday thing. She's casualizing it, but then there are breaking moments to her where she sees.
Because it's really not an everyday. It doesn't go to this point every day. This is
for sure.
The mechanics of it. Maybe it's this is a route that happens all the time, but it doesn't.
But she's still trying to strike fear.
Yes.
To some degree.
Yeah. But at the same time, she's afraid of Rich. He's she presents as the villain for the first half of the movie, and there's something really interesting that happens when Rich arrives and everything is thrown off balance, and you understand oh, okay.
A narcissistic psychopath is running this show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jen said something last night which is really interesting. She doesn't really allow herself a moment in this movie. And I think it's when I was really contemplating, it's true. It would have been, actors always want their moment. And now, certainly for this movie, I get to have moments. I mean, it's all a moment. But to have the discipline to sit through this thing and say, okay, I'm not going to show off now. I'm going to stay on the line that I'm in. That's what makes it powerful.
Yeah.
I mean, the pacing of this movie is, you have to be really disciplined in what you're doing to trust yourself that people are going to sit with this, which they did.
Yeah. It was her big moments were off screen.
Mm-hmm. But you felt them nevertheless. Yeah. I like that scene with where we're arguing.
She's very good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and also just all four of them have this ability to do the smallest thing with their face and have it say so much, which is only helped by the fact that we're up so close with them so much of the time. And I knew going in that these faces are they're storytelling faces.
Yeah.
I get to be the old man at the sea. I'm going to eventually do a fisherman movie, I think.
Yes.
Pour some salt on the wound.
I'll be there.
No, thank you. Yeah, me too. This is so liberating, It's a very liberating film for all of us.
Yeah.
And to have the experience of what we've done. And I'm certainly glad that it all turned out good. As it did. I mean, as far as we're concerned, it's all golden now.
No, I'm right there with you. I hope you guys are super proud, because you should be. But thank you so incredibly much. I know that was a southern goodbye of just 20 minutes to wrap it up. But thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. It's nice to talk with you.